Hi everyone and welcome to this web seminar about Office 365. This time we will talk about the new SharePoint Online. My name is Fulvio Solanitro, I'm a partner technical consultant, I live in Italy and I work in Microsoft since 2006. My core area are SharePoint and online services. Let's see the agenda of this specific web seminar. We will talk about SharePoint Online in general, providing an overview of the solution. We will talk about what is included and not in the SharePoint Online solution, in particular compared to the on-premise solution. We will talk a bit about the storage option for SharePoint Online. We will provide a general overview about subscription plans and offers about the online services, but in particular again about SharePoint Online. And in the last part of this training, we will talk about the deployment option for SharePoint Online, so cloud environment, on-premise environment, and hybrid solution. This training is particularly suggested for partners that are starting to work with the Microsoft Cloud solution. We will not talk about deep technical info and features, and we will not talk about deep licensing info and specific situation. Let's start. The first topic that we will cover is a general overview of the new SharePoint Online service. What is SharePoint Online? SharePoint Online is one of the products included in the Microsoft Online Service solution and it's part of Office 365. SharePoint Online can also be purchased as a standalone product or part of one of the plans offered by Office 365. But what can an end user do with SharePoint Online? An end user or an employee can easily access to his document and data online without operational overhead or infrastructure investment. What does it mean? It means that if I'm an employee and I'm working, for example, from home, from a branch office and so on, I can access to my Office documents, my PDF documents, my data, my list and so on, that are stored securely and in a reliable way on my SharePoint Online. And I can also collaborate with other team members or also with other employees and partners. To access to this data, I can use a simple browser. I can use Outlook, for example, or one of the products included in the Office Professional Plus suite, or just a simple mobile phone using a dedicated application or the browser. What can I do with SharePoint Online? One of the main pillars of SharePoint in general is sharing information between colleagues, partners and customers. Let's have a few examples of sharing information inside my organization. I can, for example, share my documents in my team site, in my SkyDrive space with my colleagues and collaborate with them. I can work on tasks, so update and edit my task and assign a task to my colleagues, and I can check also the status of this task. I can read and write news about my company or a specific project. I can share knowledge about a specific technology, a specific project and so on, and I can also consult insights related to my company. Let's continue to talk about sharing, but this time with partners. I can share with partners the access to the project site, for example, or also the project status. I can share with them processes and reports that are important for our business. I can share also with the final customer products information, for example, the always updated products information, services, but also important contacts in my company that can help my customer to work better. Let's introduce a few of the features included in SharePoint Online. In the slide in front of you, you can see many of the new options and features included now in the new SharePoint Online. Just to provide you a few examples. We have now the PowerShell that will enable SharePoint admin to perform tasks and operations using the command line. We have a project online that will not be part of this specific training, but was not included in any of the previous versions of Office 365. We have even powerful business connectivity services. We have apps, we have Site Mailbox, we have now SkyDrive Professional and mobile apps. During this web seminar, we will see many demos about this specific feature and options. In the next minutes, we will see together a demo about collaboration in SharePoint Online. It's easy to collaborate using Office 365 and in particular SharePoint Online. What I need to do is just to go to portal.microsoftonline.com, like in this case, then enter with my credential. In this case, I'm using the user Fulvio. I'm entering now the password, and in few seconds I will be able to access to my Office 365 area. Okay, in front of me there is the main portal of Office 365. If I want then to access to SharePoint Online, what I need to do is just to click on Sites. In front of me there will be the possibility to access or to the team site or to the public site. We will access this time to the team site. Let's click on it. As you can see, the system recognized the current user, so SharePoint Online knows that Fulvio Salanitro has accessed to the system and is presenting to Fulvio its related information. The system knows that Fulvio Salanitro can access to the team site and that can access to this information. Then, what I will do now is just to share some information with other colleagues. So I just change the size of these windows and then upload a Word document to the SharePoint Online site with a simple drag and drop. In few seconds, the Word document will be uploaded to the SharePoint team site and will be ready to be shared with other colleagues. Voila! The Office 365 Mobility Solution doc is ready. I can, for example, open it using Office Web App, like we will see in another demo later, or just work with its properties, like in this case. So, Office Web App will offer now the preview of the document, just for example, and I can print this document as PDF or download it. Now let's talk for the first time about Office Web Apps. With Microsoft Office Web Apps, it's possible to access, view and edit Office documents online using SharePoint Online and Web Apps with a regular browser. You can edit and view Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint and OneNote documents without using any client installed on the machine. As you can see in the slide in front of you, you have access to the ribbon bar directly from the browser. You can edit and change settings, information inside your documents, and also you can see who else is working with you on the same documents. In a demo in a few moments we will see Office Web Apps in action. Well, now we will use our browser to connect to SharePoint Online and work with Office Web Apps, site mailboxes and the SharePoint Newsfeed app. When you are connected to SharePoint Online, you can use Office Web App to work on Office documents, like for example Word, Excel, PowerPoint and OneNote. In this version of SharePoint Online, you can even create a new document, like in this case. We are opening a document library on SharePoint Online and we'll have the opportunity to create a new document directly using the browser, like in this case. We will create, for example, a Word document. In few seconds, SharePoint Online will fire the Word web app and will enable us to create a new document. Let's call it test, for example. Let's click on OK, like in this case. Word web app is starting, and in few seconds I will be able to write directly on my browser like on a normal client. Then I can also use Office Web App to collaborate with other users, like in this case. So I've been back to the document library, like in this case, and this time I will open an Excel file called data. The file will be opened in front of me in read mode, and I see that there is already something inside this document, but I want to edit it. So I just need to click on Edit Workbook, Edit in Excel Web App, like in this case, and then we will have the opportunity to work on this Excel file directly using the browser, like previously with Word. But there is something different this time. This time I'm not working alone on this specific file. As you can see in the bottom right part of the screen, there is another colleague, that is Sara Moroni, that is working with me on the same file using SharePoint Online and Office Web App. Sara is editing the numbers on the left part of the screen. I will move my mouse on the right part instead. We will see that in few seconds Sara will start writing things on the left part of the monitor, as you can see. Now we will work with her and we will generate a simple graphic from these numbers. We just need to underline this part of the column, then click on Insert and then click on Graphic. In few seconds, directly using the browser, the Excel web app will generate a graphic in front of us, but Sara will still have the opportunity to modify the information inside this document in front of me. So Sara just modified the numbers on the left part of the Excel file. Just for your information, at the moment, the Office web part are not able to manage correctly macros. Is one of the limits of the Office web apps offer. When you work with colleagues on a specific project, you will work usually using documents and email. One of the biggest problems is that usually email are stored on a client like Outlook or a mail server like Exchange, and documents are stored instead on another service like, for example, SharePoint or SharePoint Online. What we introduced in this release of SharePoint and SharePoint Online is Site Mailbox. With a Site Mailbox you can consolidate all this information on a single site. So documents like in this case, but also email related to that specific project. To create a Site Mailbox you just need to click on Site Contents and click on Add an App, and then click on Site Mailbox. In my case, for this demo, I've already created a Site Mailbox. To access this Site Mailbox, I just need to click on Mailbox and wait a few seconds. The new interface that will appear in front of me will be really similar to the classic Outlook web app. As you can see, I have folder, I have email, I have the preview panel, and so on. But the Site Mailbox will have also a specific email address. In this case will be the one that I'm underlining at the moment. So this Site Mailbox will be also able to receive email and store document. The good thing related to the Site Mailbox is that I can connect it directly to my email client, just for example Outlook 2013, that is included in Office Professional Plus. As you can see here, the Site Mailbox has been connected automatically by the system to my mail account. And if I click on Inbox, I will see in few seconds the content of this inbox. What I will do now is just to drag and drop something inside the Site Mailbox. So I will take this message, for example, and I will drag it inside the inbox of the Site Mailbox. Voila! Everything has been done in few seconds. Now I just need to refresh and update the Site Mailbox to upload the content on SharePoint Online. Another thing that I can do with the Site Mailbox is just click on, for example, on Home, New Email, and then write an email directly to the Site Mailbox, like in this case. So I will write here Site Mailbox, test, and click just Send. Voila! In few seconds the system, or better Exchange, will deliver the message to the Site Mailbox, and again the new message will be delivered in the Site Mailbox, like in this case. If I refresh the content of SharePoint Online on the website, I will see also that new message that has been delivered to the system. One of the new features included in SharePoint Online is the newsfeed. With a newsfeed, I can start a conversation with people inside my organization by posting on the public newsfeed. The newsfeed is something like a microblog, and anyone who sees my post can reply to it. Just for example, I can post here, this evening I will eat pizza, and post it on the newsfeed. And then I can post a picture, for example. So I just need to select the picture, click on OK, and upload. I can also click post, and the picture is already on the newsfeed. I can also like a specific image or post, or I can also reply to a post, like in this case. I can use also the newsfeed to collaborate with other people. In this case, Fulvio, that is the user here, is following another person. That person is Sara Moroni. So I will receive newsfeed and information from Sara Moroni. So what Sara we will publish on the newsfeed. I can also follow documents and site. So, for example, if something will change on a specific site, like in this case, or documents, I will receive an update on my personal newsfeed. Here I will receive the information I'm following. Here I will see all the posts that are published at the moment on the newsfeed, and here instead I can see when I'm mentioned by anyone inside my company. To mention a colleague on the newsfeed app, you just need to select the @ and then select the colleague that you want to mention. So Sara Moroni in this case will be mentioned by me. Voila. So Sara Moroni will be tagged and will be involved in my conversation. This is really important, not only to start a social inside your company, but also to collaborate in different ways, so not only using documents, email, but also simple talks. In the previous demo, we had a look to the SharePoint Newsfeed app. Just to recap, the Newsfeed app will enable users to post information, to share contents with other peers and colleagues, and post also pictures related to personal activities, common activities, and also share important information about a specific project. In the slide in front of you, you can see the matrix of the supportability of the SharePoint Newsfeed app for a specific device. As you can see, we are planning to release a native application for Windows 8 in the next months. We already have released an application for Windows Phone 7.5 and 8 on the Microsoft Store. We have already released an application for iOS that will work on iPad and iPhone, and in the future we will release also an application for Android devices. Actually, Android users can access to the SharePoint Newsfeed app using the Chrome mobile browser. You can also access to the SharePoint Newsfeed app using a regular browser, so Internet Explorer for Windows 8, Internet Explorer Mobile for Windows Phone, Safari Mobile and Chrome Mobile. As we said in the beginning of this web seminar, SharePoint Online enables users to share information with customers, partners, but also peers. You can share the whole site with a peer or a customer, but you can also provide the access to a single document, like in the case that is illustrated in front of you in the picture. In this case, the user is sharing a single PowerPoint document with a single user. In the next demo, we will see how it is possible to share information using SharePoint Online. SharePoint, it's all about sharing information and documents in the right and secure way with colleagues, customers and partners. What we will do now is just sharing a simple document that is stored on this team site with a colleague. I will click on the document. This document will be an Excel file that is named data. I will click on the menu here and I will click on share. Then I will select the colleague. In this case I will call Sara. The system recognized the user Sara Moroni as a colleague and will be ready to send a communication, an email message to Sara informing her that she will be able to access to a new document that is called data in few seconds. I will click on share. Sara in a few seconds will receive a new message. I can even share the access to the whole SharePoint site with Sara. What I need to do is just click on share. But this time we will provide her the access to the full site and to all the content that is stored on this site. Once again, we will write here Sarah Moroni, voila, and the system we will share with Sarah the access to the whole site. Once again, she will receive an email message from the system inviting her to access to the new team site. I can do also something more, just for example clicking here and then edit. In few seconds, Excel will be fired on my machine. I will use the client this time, and I will open the data Excel file. The file is in front of me. I can, directly from the client application, click on File, Share, invite people, type the name of the people here, so Sarah Moroni, click on her name, include a possible message here, and then share the access to that specific document that has been modified in Excel, but it's located on SharePoint Online with Sarah Moroni. So I click Share here, and Sarah, directly using Excel, will receive a new invitation from the SharePoint Online system to access to the data file. Let's talk now about the public-facing site. SharePoint Online enables customers to create one single public site with anonymous access. This site can support vanity URL. This means that the customer can change the URL for this site with the one related to the personal company. Then the content of this site can be edited and changed using an online tool called Site Designer. So you can change all the information included on this public site without using any additional client or software. This site has been designed to include information about the company, so for example information about us, contact us, direction, and so on. Should not be used to deliver information that are private, or also to build, for example, an online shop. Another important feature included in SharePoint Online is SkyDrive Professional. SkyDrive Professional is a client that is included in Office 2013 and will enable users to sync a local folder with the SkyDrive space available on SharePoint Online. In this way, users will be able to share and sync information between the local client and the online environment. Users can also access to this information, so documents, pictures, and so on, using a mobile device like a Windows Phone, an iPhone, an iPad, an Android device, and so on. So you will be able to use and access to your information while on the go. With SharePoint 2013 and SharePoint Online, we introduced apps. An app will enable to extend the capability provided by SharePoint and SharePoint Online and provide more features and opportunities. As an administrator, a SharePoint Online administrator, it is possible to create an app catalog and share these apps between all the users inside the organization. In the app catalog, it is possible to upload the apps that has been developed by the organization, or also install custom developed application by external vendor. Eventually, the SharePoint Online administrator can also manage app requests from user and approve or refuse a specific app request. Let's talk now about what is included and not in SharePoint Online in comparison with an on-premise edition of SharePoint. In the table in front of you, you can see a comparison between the capabilities and features offered by SharePoint Online and SharePoint 2013. On the left side we have SharePoint Online, and on the right side we have SharePoint 2013. As you can see, SharePoint Online offers most of the features included today in SharePoint 2013. But SharePoint 2013 provides advanced features like, for example, analytics, performance point, full trust code that is important for developers, advanced business connectivity services, and the central administration. We will talk about the central administration in the next part of the web seminar, when we go deeper about how it is possible to administer a SharePoint Online environment. Let's talk now about storage overview in SharePoint Online. So all the opportunities that we have to storage documents, information and data in the SharePoint Online environment. As we said in the real beginning of this web seminar, SharePoint Online can be purchased as a part of an Office 365 plan. For example, the small business, mid-market and enterprise. When you buy a SharePoint Online subscription, you will have 10 GB of space for your organization, plus 500 MB of space per each user that is inside your subscription. So for example, if you have 5 users, you will have 12 GB of space plus 500 MB for your organization that can be used to create one or more sites. Then each user will have 7 GB of space that are reserved for personal usage and that will be used for SkyDrive Professional. If you share your environment with kiosk workers and external users, these users will not add additional space to your SharePoint Online subscription. You can have up to 500 GB of space per each site collection, and you can upload up to 250 MB per file. This means that you can upload a file that is not bigger than 250, and this value is not changeable even opening a service request. You can create one site collection if you have a small business plan. You can create 20 site collection if you have a mid-market plan, and you can create up to 3000 site collection if you have an enterprise plan. Eventually, a company can buy additional storage for SharePoint Online paying a little fee per month, so $0.20 per gigabyte at month. SharePoint and SharePoint Online include the recycle bin. Using the recycle bin is possible to recover a deleted item from a site collection or a SharePoint Online environment. For example, it's possible to recover from the recycle bin a list, a library, a list item, a document, a web part, but even a whole site collection. As an user, you can access to the SharePoint Online recycle bin and recover in self-service a deleted item, but as an administrator, you have even more time to recover a deleted item from an end user. For example, if you are an end user, you can recover a deleted item for 30 days. If you are an administrator, you have an additional 30 days to recover this item. Let's talk now about subscription plan. So, how is possible to purchase SharePoint Online as a standalone product or as a plan? It's really important to know which is the best plan for organization to start in the right way our project of migration of data from the local environment to the Microsoft Online environment. As we said before, it's possible to buy SharePoint Online as a standalone product. So we will have SharePoint Online Plan 1 and SharePoint Online Plan 2. SharePoint Online provided regular functionalities, so collaboration with site, drag and drop, site mailbox and so on. If your customer needs something more and additional functionalities, like for example forms, data visualization, access services, video services and so on, so enterprise feature is strongly suggested to provide to this kind of customer SharePoint Online Plan 2. I want also to underline that it is possible to buy additional storage for each SharePoint Online subscription with a little per month cost. It's time to talk now about how to administer or the administrator option for SharePoint Online. When you work with an on-premise SharePoint, usually you need to access to the central administration to administer the SharePoint farm. When you work instead with SharePoint Online, the farm administration and the central administration is administered directly by Microsoft. As a SharePoint Online administration, you will need to administer the tenant, so work on site collection, user management, and so on. In the next slide, we will talk about all the activities that a SharePoint Online administrator can complete. As a SharePoint Online administrator, you can access to the SharePoint Admin Center and perform all the operation on the left side of the slide. For example, you can manage the site collection, you can manage info pattern form services, user profile, data connectivity, so business connectivity services, the term store, so metadata, record management, the search engine, the secure store services, apps, and setting for the whole SharePoint Online environment. As you can see in the picture on your right, the SharePoint Admin Center is totally different from the Farm Admin Center provided from an on-premise SharePoint environment. This is because the end user and the administrator will not take care of the farm administration itself. The farm administration, as we said, will be managed by Microsoft. So, for example, backup, data restore, database management, services, and so on, will be not managed by a SharePoint Online administrator. In the next minutes, we will have a short tour of the SharePoint Online admin panel. To access to the SharePoint Online Admin Center, I need to access before to my Office 365 subscription with administrative credential, or click on the upper right part of the screen under Admin and then SharePoint, or else click on Service Setting on the left area of the screen, and then click on Sites. In few seconds, I will be able to access also from this part of the screen to the SharePoint Online Admin Center. We need to wait a few seconds, and in front of us we will have the SharePoint Admin Center. From the Admin Center, I can manage many settings related to SharePoint Online. For example, from the first tab, I can manage and create site collection. From the second one, I can enable or disable and permit to end user to access to InfoPath. I can manage a user profile, so how users are managed by SharePoint Online, synced maybe from the Office 365 system or even from Active Directory, but also define what a single user can perform inside my SharePoint Online environment. From the BCS tab, I can manage business data connectivity to external data sources, for example. From the tab Term Store, I can manage all the terms that will be part of a specific site collection to achieve a single point where to store all the terms. I can manage record. I can also manage in the Search tab all the settings related to search inside a SharePoint environment. So, for example, the search schema, dictionary, the result sources, the query rules, and so on. So all the information that are behind the search system in SharePoint Online that will provide information when searched by an end user. Then I can manage the secure store that manage the information to access to data sources. I can manage apps, so in this area I can create, for example, an app catalog. I can add additional apps to my SharePoint Online subscription. I can manage licensings and so on, so provide additional features to my SharePoint Online environment. And then here I can manage general settings related to SharePoint Online. From this area I can enable or disable, for example, external sharing. I can enable or disable information right management if this feature is included inside my Office 365 subscription. I can even, from this area, enable or disable Office on Demand. Let's start with the site collection this time. In the site collection, I can create a new site collection or a new public site. In this case, I can't create an additional public site because there is another existing public site already created inside my subscription. As I said before, I'll be able to create just a single public website in my subscription. Then I can, for example, delete an existing site collection. I can set the properties of a site collection. I can define the owner of a site collection, so who will manage that site collection.
I can enable or disable sharing, external sharing for a specific site collection with external user. I can define the storage quota associated to a specific site collection, so the amount of space that will be assigned to a specific site collection. And then I can manage the server resources quota, for example. I can even upgrade a site collection that has been created maybe with the previous version of Office 365 and then upgrade it to the latest version of SharePoint Online. In this area instead, I can check the DNS information that will be used to redirect my public website to the public SharePoint Online site. So in this case it will be salonitroeng.sharepoint.com. Then in the last part of the tab menu I can use the recycle bin to restore a possible site collection that has been deleted. The last operation that we will see in the SharePoint Admin Center overview is how to create a new site collection. It's really easy. I just need to click here, New, Private Site Collection, like in this case, and then select a name for the new site collection. So in this case we will call it O365 Test. We need to select the name for the site collection, so Test. We need to select the language of the site collection, so English, Italian, and other languages. This is really important because later you will not be able to change the main language of your site collection. So please double check this part. So this time we will select English, and we will create a theme site, a general theme site. We have other templates that are available for a site collection, as you can see here. Then please double check also the time zone. That will be important to maintain a consistent time information for your documents that will be stored in the SharePoint Online and in SharePoint Online Documents Library. And then you need to set an administrator. In this case we will define that Sara Moroni will be the administrator of this specific site collection. Then we need to define the storage quota, so the amount of space that will be allocated to this specific site collection, in this case 5 GB. The last information that I need to modify eventually is the server resource quota, so the amount of power, the amount of CPU power that I want to reserve for this specific site collection. Then I need to click on OK. In few seconds the new site collection will be created by the system and will be available for all users. When you create a new site collection, this new site collection will be accessible only from the main administrator, so in this case Sara Moroni. In the previous demo we had the opportunity to have a look to the SharePoint Online admin panel. Now we need to know that it's also possible to manage and administer SharePoint Online using PowerShell. PowerShell was previously available in Office 365 to manage the general subscription but also Exchange Online. Now it's possible to manage many features and functionalities also for SharePoint Online. We can, for example, manage groups, users, tenant, but also information and configuration about SharePoint sites. We will need, as usual, to connect to the correct online service using the commandlet connect-spo service, and then perform the regular operations. For a list of all the commandlets available for SharePoint Online, I strongly suggest you to have a look to the TechNet link that is provided on the bottom part of the page. And I suggest you also to have a look to this page quite often, because this commandlet will be updated during the time. In this quick demo we will see how to connect to SharePoint Online service using the PowerShell. It's really easy to use the SharePoint Online PowerShell. What you need to do is just to download the PowerShell module from the Microsoft Download Center, like in this case. In front of you we have the Microsoft Download Center page with the SharePoint Online Management Shell, and from here you will be able to download the 32-bit or 64-bit version of the PowerShell module.
After you downloaded this module and installed it on a client, for example, like in this case, you can fire the PowerShell module, like in this case. In few seconds, you will be able to use the SharePoint Online Management Shell. To connect to the SharePoint Online service, you just need to connect to the service using a simple commandlet, like in this case. In this case, we will use connect-spo service SharePoint Online service URL, the SharePoint Online admin URL, and then the credential that will be used by the PowerShell module to connect to SharePoint Online. In front of me, there is the login page. I just need to input the password this time. So the password from my tenant, like in this case. Again, in few seconds, we will be able to connect to the SharePoint Online service and manage it using the PowerShell. Just to give you an example, I can write here get-spo, for example, app error, app info, deleted site, external user, but in this case we will use get-spo site. With this commandlet, we will have in front of us in few seconds the list of all the site collection that have been already created inside our tenant. Deployment consideration. First of all, when you plan to implement SharePoint Online inside your organization, you need to check requirements. When we speak about requirements, we should consider the Office client in general, so Office 2007 and greater, and also browsers. When we speak about browser, as you can see in the table in front of you, you can see that most of the browsers nowadays available on the market are supported by SharePoint Online. So we have, for example, Internet Explorer 10, Internet Explorer 9, 8, we have the latest version of Chrome, Firefox and Safari. But, for example, Internet Explorer 7 and 6 are no more supported, not only in SharePoint Online, but in Office 365 in general. When you plan to implement a SharePoint environment in general, you should consider many elements to decide the better solution. For example, if your users need to access to their data, their documents, when they are on the go, when they are working on remote sites and so on, they can use without any problem SharePoint Online, and probably this could be the best solution. But, for example, if your organization requires the integration with a line of business application or maybe have more than one internet site, SharePoint on-premise could be the best solution. But why not implement both the solutions? If you, for example, implement single sign-on in your organization and will enable single sign-on in Office 365, your end users, your employee, can access even to SharePoint Online and SharePoint on-premises in the same way, with the same credential, and maybe most of them will not be able to understand if they will work on the online world or on the on-premise world, because the experience will be the same. Privacy and security. When your company decides to move its data and information to the cloud, it is important to understand how Microsoft will protect this kind of information. As you can see in the table in front of you, Microsoft will implement different ways to protect your data. We are talking about logical protection, we are talking about host protection, network protection, but also facility protection. As you can see, we are working with many vendors and many techniques to protect this kind of information. We are talking about software protection, we are talking about network protection, but also physical protection, for example, with physical control, video surveillance system, and access control to our system. If you need to know more about all the certification that Office 365 achieved during the last 3 years, you can have a look to the following table. As you can see, these certifications are not available to all customers in every country. Most of them are available worldwide, but we have, for example, a certification like the European Safe Harbor that are available only for European customers. I suggest you also to have a look to the Trust Center on the Office 365 site.
On that page you will find always the updated version of this compliance and certification table. Before closing this session, I want to suggest a few resources to improve your knowledge of Office 365. On the first link, it's possible to create a free trial subscription. On the second one, it's possible to go deeper and understand more about how Microsoft is protecting and managing your data. On the third one, you will have access to the services descriptions, so a detailed list of functionalities included in each product or plan. The last one, instead, will provide a generic set of facts or questions from the customer about the specific technology. If you want to contact us to understand more about Microsoft technologies, please use, as usual, the partner portal, the email, or the support communities. Thank you.